Have you ever noticed that the moment you try to be your best self, a darker impulse suddenly appears? Have you ever wondered why the parts you hide the most often control you the strongest? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about something that can feel uncomfortable and yet incredibly freeing. The shadow, the inner material you dislike, deny, or fear, and the strange way it surfaces right when you least want it. The first main point is that the shadow is not only evil or bad. It is often unprocessed pain, unmet needs, and disowned power. When you reject it, it does not disappear. It acts from the basement. The second main point is that healing is not about becoming perfectly positive. Healing is about becoming whole, and wholeness comes through awareness, wisdom, cause and effect, compassion, and practice. Let me tell you a story. There is a young man named Ethan. Ethan is the kind of person who tries hard to be good. He is polite. He does not want conflict. He does not want to hurt anyone. He also wants people to think well of him. That last part is important. It is not vanity in a loud way. It is a quiet hunger for approval. He learned early that being liked kept life smooth, so he became skilled at reading the room, anticipating reactions, and shaping himself into what seemed acceptable. From the outside, Ethan looks like someone with control, but inside, he feels tension. Not always, only in certain moments. When he feels criticized, even gently. When he feels ignored. When he feels compared. When someone else gets attention. When his effort goes unnoticed. In those moments, something flares in him like heat behind the ribs. He hates that heat. He tells himself it is ugly. He pushes it down and smiles. Then something begins to happen. That heat starts leaking out sideways. He starts making sarcastic comments that sound like jokes but leave a sting. He starts procrastinating on tasks that matter to other people. And then, he tells himself he just forgot. He starts feeling irritated by friends who are confident, but he cannot explain why. He starts scrolling late at night and imagining arguments where he finally says what he really thinks. In the morning, he feels ashamed of these fantasies. He tells himself he is not that kind of person. One day, Ethan decides to see a therapist, not because his life has collapsed, but because he is tired of feeling split inside. He wants peace, but he does not know how to get it without becoming someone else. In one session, the therapist asks a simple question. What do you feel when someone criticizes you? Ethan answers quickly. I try to understand their point. I stay calm. I work on myself. The therapist watches him for a moment, then asks again, slower. What do you feel? Before you decide how to behave, Ethan hesitates. His jaw tightens. His throat gets dry. He looks down. He says, I feel nothing. I just want to fix it. The therapist does not argue. The therapist asks Ethan to pause and notice his body. Where do you feel it? Ethan notices pressure in his chest, a tightness in his stomach, a buzzing in his hands. He tries to describe it as anxiety, but as he stays with it, another word appears, anger. The moment Ethan says anger, his face changes. He looks scared, not scared of the therapist, but scared of himself. He says, I am not an angry person. I do not want to be like that. This is a classic doorway, not because anger is the whole story, but because denial is the lock. When Ethan says, I am not an angry person, he is trying to protect his self-image. He wants to be good. He wants to be safe. He wants to be lovable. But the nervous system does not accept a self-image as a replacement for truth. If anger exists, it exists. If it is denied, it goes underground. Underground, it does not become holy, it becomes distorted. The therapist explains something that feels both confronting and relieving. The problem is not that you feel anger. The problem is that you cannot admit you feel anger. When you cannot admit it, you cannot relate to it consciously. Then it controls you unconsciously. Ethan sits in silence. His mind races. Part of him wants to defend himself. Part of him wants to run. Part of him feels exposed. And part of him feels a strange relief, like someone finally named the thing he has been wrestling in the dark. This is where the idea of the shadow becomes practical. In Jungian terms, the shadow is the set of qualities you disown because they do not fit the identity you built to survive. If Ethan grew up learning that anger leads to punishment or abandonment, he learned to bury anger. He learned to become agreeable. He learned to be the good one. But the energy of anger did not vanish. It waited. It turned into resentment, passive aggression, self-sabotage, and bitterness. Now let us connect this to cause and effect. When you deny an emotion, you do not stop it from affecting your behavior. You only stop yourself from guiding it. That is cause and effect. Denial creates unconscious expression. Unconscious expression creates harm. Harm creates guilt or shame. Shame creates more denial. The cycle continues. Ethan starts to see the loop. He remembers moments from his life. Times he said yes when he meant no. Times he smiled while feeling disrespected. Times he helped others while silently keeping score. Times he secretly wished someone would fail because he felt invisible next to them. He hates these memories, but the therapist invites a different response. Instead of hating the shadow, study it. The shadow is a messenger. It shows you what you need. It shows you where you abandoned yourself. That sentence changes something in Ethan. Because if the shadow is a messenger, then anger might be a message too. Anger might be saying, a boundary was crossed. Anger might be saying, I did not speak my truth. Anger might be saying, I am tired of performing. Anger might be saying, I want dignity. Ethan has never associated anger with dignity. He only associated it with danger. But dignity is often what sits beneath anger when anger is clean. Clean anger is not violence. Clean anger is clarity. It says, this matters. Clean anger protects the heart. When clean anger is denied, it becomes dirty anger. Dirty anger is revenge, sarcasm, contempt, cruelty. So the work is not to eliminate anger. The work is to relate to it wisely. Here is where spiritual practice and psychological insight can walk together. Many spiritual traditions teach non-violence and compassion. Some people misread that as never feeling anger. But compassion without truth is not compassion. It is avoidance. Non-violence is not the absence of fire. It is the presence of awareness and restraint. It is the ability to feel fire without burning others. Ethan begins a practice. When anger rises, he pauses. He does not act immediately. He does not repress either. He notices the sensations. Heat, pressure, tightening. He names it quietly. Anger is here. Then he asks a second question. What is anger protecting? Sometimes the answer is obvious. Someone spoke over him. Someone made a joke at his expense. Someone assumed his time was free. Someone criticized him unfairly. Other times the answer is deeper. He is angry because he feels inadequate. He is angry because he is afraid he will never be chosen. He is angry because he sees someone else living boldly, and it triggers his own fear of living. This is the shadow again. The shadow is not only dark impulses, it can also be disowned longing, disowned confidence, disowned desire to be seen. If you grew up learning that wanting attention is selfish, you might bury your desire to be seen. Then you become resentful when others are seen, not because you are evil, but because you are starving. Ethan begins to see that his shadow contains both pain and power. One week he has a situation at work. A colleague takes credit for something Ethan helped create. Old Ethan would smile, swallow the heat, and then complain later to friends while acting fine in public. The anger would turn into resentment. The resentment would become distance. The distance would weaken teamwork. The result would be more isolation, cause and effect. This time Ethan tries something new. He asks for a private conversation. He says calmly, "I noticed you presented the idea as if it came only from you. I want my contribution acknowledged." His voice shakes slightly, but he says it. The colleague is surprised, then apologizes, then corrects it later. Ethan leaves the conversation with adrenaline in his body, but also a strange lightness. He did not explode. He did not disappear. He used anger as clarity. He honored himself without harming the other person. This is a milestone. Now let us talk about another part of the shadow that many people avoid: envy. Ethan admits in therapy that he feels envy sometimes. He hates admitting it. Envy sounds petty, but envy is a teacher. Envy points to desire. It points to a life you want. If you feel envy towards someone who is confident, maybe you want your own confidence. If you feel envy towards someone who creates art, maybe you want your own creative expression. If you feel envy towards someone who sets boundaries, maybe you want your own freedom. When you deny envy, it becomes bitterness. When you understand envy, it becomes information. Then you can take action. You can train. You can build. You can practice. So Ethan begins to treat the shadow like a library instead of a prison. Each uncomfortable feeling is a book. He does not have to worship it. He does not have to burn it. He can read it. This is wisdom. Wisdom is not pretending you are pure. Wisdom is seeing clearly, then choosing skillfully. Now, a crucial moment happens. Ethan has a conflict with his partner, Maya. Maya says, "Sometimes you feel emotionally distant, like you are present but not really here." Ethan hears this as criticism. His old pattern rises. He wants to defend. He wants to say, "I do so much for you." He wants to shut down. Instead, he pauses. He notices his chest tighten. He names the feeling: anger, fear, shame. He breathes. He says, "I feel defensive right now because I hear that as I am failing, but I also want to understand. Can you tell me what you experience?" Maya explains. Ethan listens. He realizes she is not attacking him. She is asking for connection. Ethan feels sadness. Under the anger there is sadness. He admits it. "I think I learned to disconnect when I felt unsafe. I am trying to stay present now." Maya softens. They talk. They do not solve everything in one night, but something changes. The relationship becomes a place of practice. This is how shadow work becomes compassion. Not only compassion for the self, but compassion for the people you love. When you integrate the shadow, you stop projecting it. Projection is another big piece. When you disown a trait in yourself, you often see it everywhere in others. If Ethan disowns anger, he might label others as aggressive. If he disowns selfishness, he might label others as selfish while never admitting his own needs. If he disowns desire for attention, he might judge others as attention-seeking. Projection keeps you blind. Integration gives you sight. So Ethan begins noticing projections. When he feels irritated by someone, he asks, "What in me is being mirrored?" Sometimes the answer is that the person really behaves poorly. Not everything is projection. Wisdom includes discernment, but often, the irritation reveals a disowned part, a part that wants to speak, a part that wants to live. Now let us bring in a spiritual framing that is very simple. Many paths teach that awakening is moving from unconsciousness to consciousness. The shadow is unconscious material. Bringing it into awareness is awakening, not a flashy awakening, a quiet one, a daily one. When you practice this, you stop being a puppet of your hidden parts. You become a steward of your inner world. Stewardship requires compassion. If you attack your shadow, it fights back. If you befriend it, it relaxes. Befriending does not mean indulging harmful impulses. It means listening to the need beneath them, then meeting that need in a healthy way. For example, if Ethan feels the urge to humiliate someone when he feels humiliated, the need might be dignity. He can meet dignity by setting boundaries and speaking truth, not by revenge. If he feels the urge to withdraw and punish with silence, the need might be safety. He can meet safety by asking for space respectfully and returning to the conversation later, not by abandonment. This is practice. Practice is how you transform karma. Karma here is not a cosmic scoreboard. It is the chain of causes in your own nervous system and behavior. Each time you choose conscious response over unconscious reaction, you change the chain. That is liberation in everyday life. Ethan also discovers that the shadow includes goodness he disowned. This is important. Some people hide their anger. Others hide their tenderness. Some people hide their ambition. Others hide their joy. If Ethan grew up in a house where being proud was mocked, he might hide pride. If he grew up where showing need was punished, he might hide vulnerability. Those hidden parts become shadow too, so he begins to reclaim them. He allows himself to feel proud of his work without arrogance. He allows himself to cry when he feels grief. He allows himself to say, "I need you," when he needs connection. Each reclaiming makes him more whole. Wholeness is the goal, not perfection, not constant positivity. Wholeness. Now I want to speak to you directly. If you have parts of yourself you hate, please consider this. The parts you hate are often the parts that were not allowed to exist when you were younger. They were exiled so you could belong. But exile creates fragmentation. Fragmentation creates inner conflict. Inner conflict creates suffering. The path out is not more exile. The path out is integration. Integration looks like this. You notice the feeling. You name it. You locate it in the body. You allow it to exist without acting it out. You ask what it needs. You meet the need with wisdom. You learn from it. Then you move forward. Do that again and again and something profound happens. You become trustworthy to yourself. And when you are trustworthy to yourself, you become steadier with others. This is the foundation of compassion. Compassion is not something you perform. It is what naturally arises when you are not fighting your own inner world all day. When you are less split inside, you are less harsh outside. There is also a quiet lesson about destiny here. Many people think destiny is something that happens to them. But destiny is often the long shadow of repeated patterns. If you keep denying anger, you keep creating resentment. Resentment shapes relationships. That becomes your fate. If you keep denying fear, you keep avoiding growth. Avoidance shapes life. That becomes your fate. If you keep denying your needs, you keep choosing partners and friends who do not meet you. That becomes your fate. But when you bring awareness to the shadow, you change the causes. And when you change the causes, the results change. That is how you reshape destiny. Now let me share a small example that might feel familiar. Someone grows up being praised for being the nice one. They become nice to survive, but inside they feel exhausted. They do not know how to say no. They smile while feeling hurt. Then one day, they explode at someone they love over something small. Everyone is shocked. They say, "You are not like this." But the truth is, they are like this. They just hit it. The explosion is the shadow demanding air. If that is you, you are not broken. You are overdue for truth. Start small. Practice one boundary. Speak one honest sentence. Allow one uncomfortable emotion without judging yourself. That is the beginning. Ethan learns that the shadow is not the enemy of spirituality. The shadow is the raw material of real spirituality, because spirituality without shadow work becomes performance. It becomes a mask, and masks do not heal. Truth heals. As Ethan keeps practicing, his life becomes simpler inside. Not always easy, but simpler. He is less afraid of his own reactions. He trusts he can hold them. He becomes kinder, not because he is suppressing, but because he is integrated. And that is the final message. The goal is not to become a person who never feels darkness. The goal is to become a person who can hold darkness with awareness and transform it into wisdom. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself. The goal is to become whole. Thank you for being here with me. If this resonated, share in the comments what emotion you tend to hide the most, and what you think it is trying to protect. If you feel comfortable, share one small practice you want to try this week, like pausing before reacting, naming your feeling, or setting one gentle boundary. Subscribe to the channel for more long-form stories that blend psychology with spiritual practice. Like the video if it helped you see yourself with more compassion today. And if you want to support the channel and keep these deeper conversations alive, you can join the membership and help this space grow.